the establishment of Hollywood. It was all cults. They were all Aleister Crowley proteges who were just raping kids and summoning demons, and demons are real. So at the same time that they're summoning demons, they are making us all believe that faith is not real. And that has been, I think, the greatest trick that the devil ever played, right? Is making people think they didn't exist and making people atheists, making people believe that there's nothing, like you're here for a moment in time, because then it allows them to further tether us to their reality and to their God, which is money, right? Well, if you truly knew and believed, like I do, I actually know that this is not it. Like I know this is not it. But if you truly believe that, you wouldn't sell your soul. People think that that's just like an expression. Oh, he sold his soul. No, you are literally selling your soul. Like when you tell lies and you go down a path of lying because you're so afraid
of not having the security of a paycheck, or you're willing to do something terrible to maintain that job, or keeping your mouth shut
to maintain that job. We're seeing it right now with the Charlie Kirk case, right?
It's basically like doing sexual rituals with the intent of communicating with demons, or beings, as he calls them.
Tantric sex is a spiritual meditative practice that uses sexual energy to foster a deep mindful connection between partners, often involving practices like breath work, prolonged eye contact, and slow deliberate touch. Unlike traditional, why are you giving me that? I don't know, Deef.
Because it's not giving you like the occultist.
Well,
right, yeah. Tantric sex.
Tantric sex, I think, comes from the Hindu philosophy. So that's more grounded in like
this sounds
meditation
fine.
And shit. You need sex magic with a CK at the end. And
CK at the end.
Yeah.
Magic.
Yes. And this is sexual energy and ritual to manifest desire, achieve spiritual transformation, and attain higher consciousness.
That also, they try to make that sound good.
Well, depending on who you ask, maybe it is.
But Aleister Crowley was doing it.
Yeah, oh yeah. And again, if
wasn't he using it to like worship Satan?
He wouldn't call it Satan. He would say, I'm speaking to beings of higher consciousness. I'm trying to tap in to this sort of divine energy.
What do you think motivated that guy?
I think infamy. I think like a desire for knowledge. I'm pretty sure he grew up Christian.
Desire for knowledge.
Again, it's like, I think what draws a lot of people into the occult is like, I'm going to understand the true teachings of the universe. Like, I'm going to understand why we're actually here. All these religions are kind of explaining in their own little ways, but he gets to be a rock and roll star where he gets to do drugs, bang chicks, and then potentially communicate with these entities.
Just out of curiosity, does anyone here not know who Aleister Crowley is? Never heard of Aleister? Okay. Anyone else? Anyone know his work really well, so well that you wouldn't admit it in public?
Aleister Crowley.
Aleister Crowley.
Aleister Crowley.
Aleister Crowley, the late Aleister Crowley, my very good friend.
This is Edward Alexander Crowley, also known as Aleister Crowley. He styled himself the wickedest man in the world.
The wickedest man in the world.
The wickedest man in the world.
The wickedest man in the world by the London newspapers.
The man who called himself the Beast 666.
The Golden Dawn's most notorious member was a self-confessed Satanist.
Others have affectionately dubbed him the most notorious occult magician of the 20th century.
Mr. Crowley has been instrumental throughout music.
Just the Crowleyism of the times. It was a significant part of that middle point of the 70s.
Crowley was one of the pantheon of cult figures portrayed on the cover of the Beatles record, Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band.
I can't think of any other occultist who's been more influential on rock musicians than Aleister Crowley, anyone close.
And he personally bragged of having slaughtered 150 male children in 1 year. This is why he was called the wickedest man in the world.
And through putting himself in deep hypnotic trances and the use of drugs on himself, he wanted to become the most powerful being in the world.
He was responsible for founding the religion and philosophy of sexual magic, Thelema, in which role he identified himself as the prophet entrusted with guiding humanity into the Aeon of Horus in the early 20th century.
He is a Freemason. It has its roots in Freemasonry and secret societies, which is essentially Luciferian doctrine. That is the sigil of Baphomet, the symbol of Baphomet.
I have found that at the very heart and core of all these secret societies lurks the Kabbalah.
A lot of the Kabbalah, a lot of ancient Egyptian deity as well.
In the Great Pyramid, Crowley conducted an occult ritual intending to access supernatural powers.
Do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law.
Love is the law. Love under will.
Do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law.
Do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law, and love is the law, love under will.
Do what thou wilt.
Do what thou wilt.
Do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law.
Love is the law. Love is the only law.
I'm me. I'm doing what I want to do.
I am who I am, and it's tattooed on my chest.
Well, I've been an admirer of Aleister Crowley. I think that I'm carrying on much of the work that he started over 100 years ago, and I think the 60s themselves. You know, Crowley said, do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law.
That guitar solo, though. That fucking guitar solo, though, you know? Oh, so fucking good. That's Ozzy Osbourne, dude, man. That's Ozzy Osbourne, Mr. Crowley. And it is really Crowley, like holy, not Crowley, like Fowley. Gentlemen, and indeed ladies, it is my great pleasure to talk to you this evening about one of the most important people in modern Western history. It's a long time coming. I promised you a Crowley stream, and I'm really fucking excited to gift this to you this Christmas. Put in 93 in the chat if you know who Aleister Crowley is. If you are familiar already with Master Therion, with the Great Beast. I'm just going to get progressively more naked as the stream goes on. I hope you guys don't mind. I don't want you cock watching. Okay, hold up. I'm seeing people gifting already. I'm seeing, yeah, exactly. Where do you start, guys? Where do you start? Like, how do you introduce an audience? I mean, was half the audience are like full-blown wizards at this point, and the other half are just watching it for entertainment purposes? How do I introduce you to somebody so important, and perhaps more importantly, somebody so misunderstood as Aleister Crowley? I guess I got to start at the beginning. I guess I got to start by giving you guys a story, huh? I guess I got to tell you a story. I poured whiskey all over myself. It's crazy right now. What's my favorite Crowley story? And there are so many. There are so many great Crowley stories. It becomes hard, really, just to pick one. This one comes from Robert Anton Wilson. This is one of my favorites. It's an incredible story. This is actually the story of MacGregor Crowley, Alexander Crowley's wayward son. The crazy thing about MacGregor Crowley is that in the year 1883, MacGregor Crowley was found dead of a heart attack in a Paris hotel room. MacGregor Crowley and his father, so it is said, engaged in a black magic satanic mass to invoke some kind of evil demon. And that MacGregor Crowley, his mind just simply couldn't take it. His mind broke. And the next day he was found dead in the suite of this hotel in Paris, next to his father, Aleister Crowley, a shivering, broken wreck, a man who would never really fully recover, and for some time had to be committed to a French institution for psychiatric health. It's one of my favorite stories about Aleister Crowley, but it's slightly incredulous. It's slightly incredulous because I'm almost certain that MacGregor Crowley was never in Paris in 1883. I'm almost certain that MacGregor Crowley, unlike his father, Alexander Crowley, was not really interested in the occult and in occult matters. And perhaps the most pressing, convincing, credible argument against this story is the fact that there is no MacGregor Crowley. There never was. There was a MacGregor Mathers, a fellow occult Dawn member of Crowley's, who they had like a psychic feud thing, sending each other swarms of locusts. Very cool. Very, very cool. But no MacGregor Crowley. Doesn't matter. Doesn't stop the story getting printed. Doesn't stop the story getting put out in a billion different newspapers. Doesn't stop the story trending worldwide. And some people today, if you ask them, they will look you dead in the eye and with a straight face, they will tell you the story of MacGregor Crowley and his tragic death in that hotel room in Paris, France. If you go out onto the internet and you look for information about Aleister Crowley, you're going to be met with a barrage of mis- and disinformation. And to top it all off, 90% of what you'll read that is fiction was created by the man himself. It becomes really fucking difficult to ascertain fact versus fiction when it comes to Crowley. And so I've done the best that I can in the notes that I'm about to share with you to explain to you truly who Aleister Crowley is. If you go, for example, and you watch Count Dankula's incredible, and it is an incredible episode of his Mad Lads series, where he talks about these famous eccentric characters from history and why they're so based, you'll see that Count Dankula has dedicated an epic 3-hour stream to the life and work of Aleister Crowley. Problem is, a lot of it is made up. A lot of it is made up. And I guess you have Crowley to thank for that. Tonight, I'm going to tell you a story, hopefully the story, as close as I can get to the truth. It's all lies, really, at the end of the day. And I'm going to try and explain the story of the man, the life of the man. A man who went by many, many different names. A man who wore many, many different masks, not just in the names that he called himself, Frater Perdurabo, the great beast, 666, but in the masks that he wore in society and in life. A man of many jobs, a man of many vocations, a shapeshifter, a master magician, an occultist, a poet. And I really do recommend that you go and you read his insane, profound collection of poetry. Some of it reads like scripture. White Stains, I believe, is the name of Crowley's poetry collection. A drug addict, a mountain climber, mountaineer, full-blown fucking mountaineer, and a sexual deviant by the standards of our time, let alone his time. Truly, a sexual deviant. There is no way around it. The founder of a new religion, Thelema. And there's a particular reason that he called it Thelema and not Crowleyanity, as he often joked. It has something to do with numerology and the fact that the number 93 in Hebrew gematria, I think the number 3 equates to Thelema in the Greek, meaning will or desire. It's also agape, meaning love. An enemy of Jesus Christ, an enemy of the Catholic Church, publisher of forbidden books, a prophet to some, and very fucking a monster to others. Was he the devil incarnate? Was he the devil made flesh? Was he just a spoiled rich kid with too much free time and a knack for trolling? That depends entirely on who you ask. Aleister Crowley was born Edward Alexander Crowley, for those of you who are interested in this kind of information, under the sign of Libra on the 12th of October, 1875. He was born in a town called Leamington Spa, a little town called Leamington Spa in Warwickshire, England, a beautiful town, a quiet town. Ironically, a quiet town responsible for producing one of the loudest blaspheming heretics ever to walk the face of the earth. And he was raised by a sect of religious fanatics. His family were members of the Plymouth Brethren, which was an extreme fanatical, I guess like you could describe them as like a militant version of the Jehovah's Witnesses, a group of Christian fundamentalist Bible bashers who believed both the Old and New Testament to be entirely literal. This will become important later. A group that believed that women were property, that homosexuals were abominations unto God, based, ? A group that fundamentally believed that joy was suspicious. When Crowley's father died of tongue cancer, aged, I can't remember how old he was. I think he was about 12, 13 when his father died. His father died in 1886 from tongue cancer, and his God-fearing household collapsed. He learned the first lesson of occultism, which is that gods can bleed and gods can also die. And he was quickly, very promptly packed off, shipped off to boarding school. an awkward child, a solitary child, a lonely and perhaps strange child. Bullied, often bullied by his own teachers. His mother called him the Beast, which is a name that I guess he took to heart, one that seems to have stuck. And as a teenager in Victorian society, raised under a religious, let's just say it, tyrannical household, he rebelled in the way that only a Victorian teenager could. Drinking, gambling, smoking, prostitutes, and publicly poking holes in the Bible at every single given opportunity. Really enjoyed as a young man, as a teenager, from what I gather, making people squirm, making people think, rug pulling people about their own belief systems. In 1895, he enrolled in Cambridge College. Smart motherfucker. Studied English literature. Something of a impressive force in chess, from what I understand. This is where he wrote the bulk of his romantic poetry, fascinated and infatuated with Byron and Shelley and Romanticism. He briefly fell in love with another man. Brief, but nevertheless intense and fleeting, ultimately doomed, because he had found something stronger than love. He'd found magic. And it kind of set the tone for his life. At university, he reads the Lesser Key of Solomon. He gets into grimoires, reading dusty old tomes in the library. And he drops out of school pretty quickly afterwards. School in the American sense. It didn't matter, of course. He was very rich. He had his daddy's money, and that bought him some amount of freedom, at least for a time. He used that freedom to travel the world and to climb mountains. He led an expedition up the second tallest mountain in the world, K2. And although he didn't make it to the top, he did come back alive, unlike several members of his climbing party. There are rumors and stories about that expedition that persist unto this day. In 1898, he joins the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn, along with my great uncle, long story. And this is very much the occult elite of his day, not to be confused with the occult elites, but rather the elite of the occult of his day. People like Arthur Conan Doyle, W.B. Yeats. There's a group of people that practice ceremonial magic, sex magic, drug-fueled rituals. And he takes on the name Brother Perdurabo, literally meaning brother I will endure. Rises extremely quickly through the ranks of the order, too quickly, perhaps, for some people. Made a lot of enemies along the way, but was clearly a brilliant, arrogant, openly bisexual, constantly high as a kite individual with a megalomaniacal ego who was convinced that everybody should listen to him. And perhaps, I'm going to make the argument tonight, perhaps they should. He decided that he got too big for his boots and decided that he didn't need the order anymore, and he left. He went traveling. He went to Japan, to India, to Tibet, to Sri Lanka. He studied Buddhism, Taoism, and yoga. And he added hashish and opium to what was already a pretty long cocktail menu of pharmaceuticals, including cocaine and hallucinogens. In 1902, he meets and marries Rose Kelly, the first real love of his life, in Paris. And they get married almost immediately, and he drags her off to Egypt because, of course, he fucking does. In Cairo, in their hotel, they set up a shrine to invoke ancient Egyptian deities, and they did incantations and they chanted spells. And it was at that point that Aleister Crowley's life goes sideways. It was at that point that Aleister Crowley knew that he had fucked up. His wife, Rose, collapsed, went into a vegetative and then a trance-like state, kept endlessly repeating over and over, "They are waiting for you." She leads him to a museum, to a funerary stele, an ancient Egyptian monument numbered 666. And that is when she began to hear voices. The angel that spoke through Rose called itself Iowas, an angel, something pretending to be an angel, perhaps. But for 3 days, the voice in Rose's head dictated, and Crowley wrote. He wrote down the things that she said. The resultant contents are what we today refer to as Liber Legis, or the Book of the Law. Not Crowley's only, and perhaps not even his best work, but a profound piece of what can only be described as scripture, thelemic scripture, that I would highly recommend at least perusing at one point or another in your life. The message of the Book of the Law is very, very simple. Christianity is finished. Christianity is over. And it heralds in a new aeon. The aeon of what Crowley called Horus, the ancient Egyptian deity Horus. The central tenet of the Book of the Law is do what thou wilt. An extremely misunderstood statement that over time seems to have been equated to just do whatever you want. But alas, I'm sure Crowley knew that that would happen. But within the tenets of it are the idea that every man and every woman is a star, and that each must follow his true will. If we were like stars, all orbiting according to our true will, then there would be no collisions, there would be no clashes. When people say to me, "Oh, you like Aleister Crowley, you believe in like do what thou wilt morality, and you believe that you should do whatever you want," I always ask, like, what do you mean by do what thou wilt? What do you think is meant by do what thou wilt? It's like pretty fucking obvious, dude. It means I can just go around raping and killing and plundering or do whatever I want. Well, is that what you want to do? Is that really what you want to do? Because I think it says more about you than it says about Aleister Crowley. Crowley fully and completely believed this. He believed that there would be no violence or conflict in the world if every man and woman were acting in accordance with their true will, and that conflicts and violence and issues and problems and restrictions only emerged in the world as a direct result of people not acting in accordance with their true will. In Thelema, in the system of will or the system of desire created by Crowley, you have a fusion of all of these different strands of Western and, to a certain extent, Eastern magical practice. You have the Kabbalah, you have Buddhism, you have Christian Gnosticism, you have yoga. And of course, you have Crowley's industrial strength, ego, to contend with. Psychedelics encouraged, morality optional, is how I would describe it. 93. In 1907, Crowley founded his own occult order, the Order of the Silver Star, the Argentium Astra Argentium. And he published Equinox, another great read. He wrote during this time the bulk of his other serious religious thelemic work. And then his marriage collapsed. Rose, who, let's just face it, Rose wasn't always fucking compos mentis to begin with. Rose fell off the wagon pretty hard and became like a full-time alcoholic. So Crowley divorced her. She was actually institutionalized. And his money ran out. His drug addictions escalated. He used to take heroin for his asthma. How do you say asthma? Asthma. Which is a cope if I've ever heard one. During World War I, Crowley hid out in New York, and he wrote Pulp Fiction to fund his drug habit. He may or may not have worked as a British intelligence asset during this time, although he definitely did work as a British intelligence asset at some point. In fact, many people, I have it on very good authority, very good occult authority, that Crowley was actually the mind behind the V for victory sign, popularized throughout the Commonwealth. He definitely worked for the British government, making propaganda during World War II, as many good, capable minds did. But no one really knows if he was working for them in World War I, including Crowley, because he was so out of his head on drugs that he claims not to remember. In 1920, he moved to Sicily, and there he found something called the Abbey of Thelema, a commune, if you like, for his hippie friends who agreed with him. There they conducted rituals and Gnostic masses, had a policy of free love and open drug use, no responsibility, seemingly, ostensibly, from the outside. All of this in Sicily, which I will remind you at the time was fascist Italy. Somewhere along the way, one of his drug-addled followers appears to have died, and the papers, the tabloids, went crazy with rumors of the satanic rituals that were alleged to be taking place in the Abbey of Thelema. The abbey collapsed. His followers fled. And although he did return to England a broken disgrace, he wrote again, he married again, he cheated again. And Crowley's life more or less continued into obscurity, as is the case of many people, many prominent people born just before midnight. If you believe the Christians, if you believe the common, prevalent narrative about Crowley, he died broke and penniless and drug addicted, aged 72 in 1947. But if you ask me, he was extremely well funded and well patronized until basically right up until his death. And as somebody who was born with money and didn't particularly care for it, judging Crowley by the monetary standards of his day or his time, or even our day and our time, it's quite frankly fucking retarded. I think there's something very comfortable in the fact they like to believe that Crowley died drug-addled and penniless and in a ditch somewhere. I think it makes them feel better about this man who lived one of the most phenomenal lives. I feel nervous, anxious even talking about this, although I will admit anxiety and excitement are just the same feeling in different ends of the spectrum. I'm happy to be talking about this, but I'm nervous because I don't want to do you wrong and I don't want to do Crowley wrong. I don't want to let Crowley down by giving you guys a bunch of misinformation. To summarize, who is Aleister Crowley? Mystic, genius, lunatic, prophet, fraud, charlatan, definitely a cult leader of some kind, a casualty of drugs, perhaps. But what is the influence of Aleister Crowley? What was the magical effect of Aleister Crowley? It's like, well, I think you're living in it. I think it's Wicca. I think it's modern paganism in all of its many incarnations. I think it's modern rock music and the punk movement and punk music and metal music and Ozzy Osbourne and David Bowie. And I think 1,000 years from now, we may indeed, in fact, be living in the sunset of Crowleyanity. I think every occultist since Crowley has basically just been playing catch up. A lot of them pretend to get it. They don't get it. Crowley got it. And I'll say this right now, I don't think many of you are fully ready to read Crowley. Even though this is the perfect time for me to be talking about him and I want to make a stream about it and I want to put it out there, people will say, am I a Thelemite? Is that what that is? I've met many Thelemites. They annoy me, quite frankly. I believe they would have annoyed Crowley, but everybody has their own idea, basically, of who Crowley is, what Crowley was. I'm right, and they're all fucking wrong. All right, let me read the chat. 50 people watching. Lol. All right. Start in the beginning. We'll do a Quentin Tarantino timeline on Aleister Crowley. Does that give it to you? Does that just about sum it up? The thing about Crowley is the way he's remembered, the way he's like mythologized, and the way that the lore around it, again, much of which he made himself. He invented this stuff himself. Merry Christmas, by the way. He's remembered as this like wizard, magician, sex freak, pervert, self-mythologizing egomaniac. All true, like, to be honest, like all true, but really that's missing the point. Really, that's not understanding the genius of who Aleister Crowley was and what Aleister Crowley was and what he was in the simplest possible terms. Is the greatest shit poster who ever lived. The greatest shit poster of all time. And I'm not saying he wasn't magical, and I'm not saying he wasn't a magician, and I'm not saying that we don't all live in the shockwave, ripple, afterglow of some of the things that he did in his time on this planet, but that's where his real genius was. It wasn't in ceremonial magic or in the creation of Thelema. It was in being the greatest ever living shit poster. Shit posting is really like a form of magic, in a way. Well, not in a way, and it definitely. And guys, I want you to understand the kind of shit posting that I'm talking about here. I'm talking about high effort shit posting. The sort of shit posting that takes stamina, that you have to like really apply yourself over time. The kind of shit posting that actually bends reality to your will, but let's not like, okay. And please remember, this is pre-internet. He's not trolling on 4chan. He's not trolling on X. He's trolling the British Empire. His entire life could be said to be one giant performance art piece. Robert Anton Wilson actually describes Crowley as a linguistic philosopher, rivaling that of, say, like Wittgenstein. That if you read something like the Book of Lies, for example, which is one of Crowley's most incredible, esoteric, like difficult to understand, you can read it 16 times and never get it. It's operating on 3 different levels of triple entendre meaning, right? You read the Book of the Lies, and you read the Book of Lies, and you'll really understand what I'm saying about reality bending shit posts. Gives you a basic introduction, but it's not quite enough. I want to read to you a little bit of Crowley later on, and I want to open the phones. If anybody knows Crowley well, knows the work well, call in. I would love to hear from you. But I wanted this to be our kind of Crowley introductory Christmas stream. I want to talk to you guys about cocaine, and I want to talk to you guys about crystals, but we will get there. We'll get there in a minute after I'm finished reading this chat. Okay. All of his kids died, right? Don't all of our kids die in the end? Yeah, exactly. Conor McGregor, what a nice story. We get it. Do you though? I don't know if you do. Precisely. Quite the showman. George has an excruciatingly malevolent persona. What can I say? I learned from the best. And absolutely, the first factual thing in this chat is that Aleister Crowley was a cocaine enjoyer. Truly evil. He dwells on the worst kinds of all things. What does it even mean? We're speaking in riddles. George's idol, gentlemen. Well, yeah, half the stuff you've heard will have turned your nose up. And I'm just skimming the surface. You really have to read Crowley in order to appreciate him. You really have to apply the techniques that he outlines in his works. And I'm not going to give you any of them. I'm not going to give you any of them. I'm going to let what I told you sit with you, and I'm going to let you form your own opinions. Maybe what I'm saying will be enough to pique your curiosity, to inspire you to delve into Crowley. Perhaps it won't. Perhaps it will only further fortify the wall of bullshit that you've built up in your own mind that has precluded you for so long from looking into this stuff properly. I don't know. David Bowie references white stains in his song Station to the Nation. It's full of it. Music is full of it. We are all a fucking monster. Mocking Christ won't make you an enemy of his. Well, there you go. I don't think Crowley was an enemy of Christ, but I think Crowley would have had a very Armin Hillman understanding of Jesus Christ. In fact, it's come to my attention recently that Armin Hillman is a Thelemite, is a follower of Aleister Crowley. I would encourage you all to go and watch the stream, those of you who are members, that I did a few months back, on Armin Hillman and his interpretation of Jesus. It's crazy. Okay. George has sex with men off the books. Oh, it's on the books now. It's on the books now. Listen. Much like Crowley, anything you could say about me is going to be water off a duck's back at this point. Like anything you could say about me, and this is what people have to understand. Crowley really did understand that no publicity is bad publicity. At the end of the day, no publicity is bad publicity. I love Edwardian times. This is Victorian times. But I guess it is Edward, right? Just before Queen Victoria. Does Victorian times officially start in like 1900? So it's Edwardian into Victorian. My bad, Coco. I stand corrected. You were right. George paid me for sex and failed to satisfy me adequately. If I paid you, why are we worrying about whether or not you're satisfied? That's crazy. Somebody needs to explain the basic principle of economics to you. That's fucking mental. Based and trad. Correct. That is, Crowley is closer. Listen, guys, I need you to understand. Crowley fucked men in the arse, and he was still less gay than Adolf Hitler. He was still less gay than Friedrich Nietzsche. Okay, when you see this meme that's like, you know, every man turns 20 and picks one of these men to base his life around, to build his life around. You never see Crowley. If you see Nietzsche, you see Jesus, you see Hitler, you see whatever. You never see Crowley on that. And it's a shame. It's a real shame. It's a crying shame, actually, to be honest with you. All right. I want you to watch a video. I want you to watch a real video real quick because we're gonna do science class. You guys say that I'm an anti-materialist or some shit, you know, like I'm and I am massively. But I want you guys, there's a confusion, I think, that because I'm an anti-materialist, that I'm like scientifically illiterate somehow, which is not true or the case at all. Guys, thanks for coming to my TED Talk. Let's do a little science lesson together, okay? And let's watch a documentary, short documentary, 10 minutes, on crystals.
I suppose most of you have seen a crystal at one time or another, probably in a natural history museum or in a chemical bottle. Here's an unusually big crystal, dug out of a clay pit in Brazil. Here's a smaller one, broken from the side of a cleft in the rock in Arkansas. But crystals aren't always big, beautiful things like this. As a matter of fact, crystals are everywhere. The salt you use to flavor your food, for example. It consists of little crystals of sodium chloride. You can see their shapes by looking at them through a magnifying glass. Little cubical crystals of sodium chloride. Snow. Here are some enlarged pictures of single snowflakes. Each is a single crystal of water. Here's a crystal I like especially well, probably because I made it myself. It's a crystal of alum. As a matter of fact, you can make a crystal just like it. I put some directions in the film notes in case you want to do it yourself. You buy the alum you need at a drugstore and grow the crystal in a mason jar. If you do this, I'm sure you'll be very much impressed by one thing. The crystal keeps growing, maybe for a week. It keeps getting bigger, but all the time, it has plain faces, meeting in sharp edges. You can see I haven't ground the faces on this crystal or polished them at all. This is just the way the beast grows. It almost seems as if you were getting something out of nothing, something with a shape all its own, which it decides all by itself throughout its career. In order to grow a single perfect crystal as big as this, you have to take pains and let everything happen slowly. But you can see what's actually happening by letting things happen a little bit faster and looking at the business under the microscope. I'm going to take a solution of alum, which is just itching to deposit crystals, and make a little pool of it on the microscope slide, and then add a few little crystals of alum to give the alum something to deposit on. And then get myself in focus and let her rip. There they are. You can actually see them grow if I turn now to a higher magnification. The little crystals keep pretty much the same shape as they grow, just getting bigger. Naturally, they all sit down on the microscope slide on one of their biggest faces. So you see the shape of the crystal depends mostly on what the crystal is made of, and not on its size, so long as it's free to grow in all directions. Now, crystals don't only grow out of solutions. They grow out of gases. Snowflakes, water crystals grow that way. And one of the
Reminder, a large part of you is crystalline. Let's get back to work, shall we?
most important places where crystals grow is out of melted materials when you cool them. Here I've got another powder you can get at the drugstore called Salal, which melts to convenient temperature. I'll put a little of it on a microscope slide. Then I'll carry it over here to the hot plate and melt it. And now let's go over here to the microscopes. There's one growing, turning very slowly in the liquid as it grows because it hasn't quite sat down on the slide yet. It seems almost to push those flat faces ahead through the part that's still melted. Of course, you know that the whole crystal isn't moving and shoving its front along. The liquid next to the face is becoming solid and adding itself to the face. But it's doing this in such a way that the stuff added on also forms a flat face, so the crystal keeps its shape while it grows.
Now, am I going to make the argument to you people that crystals are intelligent? No. But do I need to in order to make my point? Well, we'll see. Your watch or your phone has a crystal in it, right? And it keeps to a time, keeps to a pulse, keeps to a beat, right? It emits a frequency. In fact, you could be more literalist than this. You could say every computer chip is just crystal, silicone crystal, that we've trapped electrons in a specific structure in order to store information. You know, we literally grow those crystals and then we encode things into the structure of those crystals. Crystals are semiconductors. I can already kind of hear the materialist cope, actually. Like, yeah, but that's real physics. Yeah, but that's just real physics. Yeah, exactly. That's my point. You love crystals when it comes to you from some guy in a lab coat. You love crystals when it comes to you from some guy in a fucking white lab coat. You accept crystal magic from the scientists, but you mock Shanine Blake. You mock the queen, Shanine Blake. And you mock the crystal girlies. You mock magic. And real magicians like Aleister Crowley. Keep watching, shall we?
Now, I'll melt this back carefully on the hot plate so as to leave just a little rounded blob of crystal. That rounded blob will be a single crystal, but it won't have flat faces. And I want you to see what happens when this cools down again under the microscope. There it goes, growing the faces it wants to have, filling in the hollows and squaring off the rounded corners so that its boundaries are all flat again. Notice now what happens when two crystals bump into each other, so to speak. They don't push each other around, they just stop growing where they meet because they've used up all the stuff to grow with there.
Fascinating, no? Captivating, no? How does the crystal grow? Seemingly pulling electrons from the ether and structuring them according to its will. Consider crystals. The crystal girl phenomenon is actually fascinating. Why do people mock crystal girls? Because crystal girls claim that crystals can be attributed properties, magical properties. You can attribute magical properties to rocks. The materialist critique of this is that, well, crystals don't actually emit any measurable healing frequency. It's just, yeah, okay. But maybe you're missing the point. Maybe you're missing the profound psychological and aesthetic experience that comes from engaging with a beautiful piece of rock, from a beautiful ancient geological formation. You holding rose quartz in your hand, it's actually doing something, right? It's pulsing. And in a weird way, it demands attention. You can use it to create little ritual moments. It can serve as a psychic anchor. You can set intention and change the world with it. This materialist mockery prevents people from accessing the genuinely transformative aspect of the truth about crystals. They're either busy defending the woo bullshit about crystals or trying to debunk crystals altogether, but they're missing the whole fucking point about crystals. Do you guys know about the nocebo effect? Do you know, not the placebo effect, the nocebo effect? If I tell you every time I feed you for 365 days that I'm poisoning you, you're going to start to get sick. Even if what I'm actually feeding you is the healthiest food imaginable. Do I have to show you more footage of crystals growing under a microscope to convince you that we live in a simulation? The crystal is symbolic, actually, because it's trapped between two wholly inadequate frameworks. The pseudoscientific framework, which attempts to explain crystals, but actually all they're doing is just endlessly categorizing and labeling and measuring. They never really answer the how. They never really answer the why of why crystals grow in this way under a microscope. And the other framework, which is just like woo bullshit. But both of them miss the phenomenon itself. I want you to think about another crystal. I want you to consider a different crystal. I want you to consider cocaine. I want you to consider the magical crystal that you can buy by the half-gram or gram bag and shove up your nose of the weekend. The magical crystal that literally has magical properties. Yes, you can explain cocaine scientifically and materialistically. Yes, it's a serotonin reuptake inhibitor. It obscures the ability to shut the fuck up. You are again missing the complete picture. What about the Andean, Peruvian people who have used cocaine for ceremonial purposes for thousands of years, that have an intimate relationship with this plant that they've cultivated over time? If you look at the world through a materialistic lens, you're forced to choose, right? Either something works in a measurable way and there is a mechanism that can be explained behind it, ergo it is real, or it's purely subjective, it's purely psychological, it's purely spiritual, and therefore somehow not real, somehow false. This is the false binary at the heart of the work of Aleister Crowley, and this is why I need to read to you Aleister Crowley's essay on cocaine. Because I really do believe that after you've heard it and after you've read it, or rather, should I say, after it has been read to you, I really don't believe that you're going to be out here slandering crystal girlies anymore. Or at least if you are, it's really on you at that point. It's really on you at that point. If anybody would like to join me, the StreamYard link is in the chat. Oh my God, there's like a psychic war of numbers going on. Are the Christians? Oh yeah, based. Christian LARPers have come in to, yes, this is so good. This is what we want. 93. Why do Somali guys look like this? So real and so true. If all you see when you look at cocaine is the molecules or the marketplace, then you actually miss the middle space where human beings actually live. In order to practice magic, you have to be able to see that a crystal is simultaneously just a lattice structure of like electrons organized in a specific way and a doorway to something bigger and something greater. Cocaine is a tool, a spiritual tool that can, believe it or not, be used for spiritual purposes. People are already trying to enter the studio. Okay, this is good. We have people calling in. Give me a second. I'll try. You realize you're just making me look good, right? You realize you're doing positive PR for me here. Okay. Whoever has tried to connect, I can't let you join until you connect a microphone. Unfortunately, it needs you to connect a mic. I don't think you have to connect the camera, but I'm pretty sure you have to connect a mic in order for me to allow you onto the stream. Assuming you're cool and assuming you're a member, you can obviously hang around. Open invitation for members to call in to read along with me. But this is a fantastic introductory text to Aleister Crowley. A man who was himself a drug addict, right? A man who actually, if you read many of the things he claims to have got himself addicted to drugs in order to test his own will. Will being an incredible and fundamental part of magic. Okay, it looks like our friend can't connect a microphone, so I'm just going to yeet him. We'll never know who he was. We'll never know who he actually was. Amazing. Okay, hold on. We have other people trying to join who also apparently are unable to connect devices. It's crazy. People out here not knowing how to plug their own microphones in. Wild. I'll take anyone, by the way. I'll take Crowley haters. I'll tell you why you're wrong. I'll take Crowley sycophants, and I'll tell you why you may also be wrong. Finally, how you doing, buddy?
I'm good, thank you.
Oh shit, you're a human woman. Hello?
Yes?
Okay, so you're just checking that you are indeed female and not just a man who had his testicles removed in a
No,
horrific
no,
accident.
female.
Okay, cool. What do you think of Aleister Crowley?
Just confused a lot. I think I fell for a lot of the lore that he set up on himself, so I just joined the stream to learn.
Oh, cool. All right. Well, listen, I have a group chat, right? It's called the Black Lodge. And the idea, the joke, even behind the name Black Lodge, is that sometimes the guys who think they're the good guys are actually the bad guys. If you want to know more about what I mean by this, look into the Jesuit order of the Catholic Church and look into the history of the Jesuit order of the Catholic Church and ask yourself if those guys really are the soldiers of Jesus Christ, right? When I see someone opposing the church, I don't necessarily, or I hear things like satanic, Black Lodge, I don't anymore automatically think evil, because I know that people in power, like if they wanted to manipulate me, that's exactly the kind of things that they would call the people that they wanted me to distrust, right? So I just try and keep an open mind about these kind of things and go from there. Hello, Dio. You say Theosophical Freemasonry like it's a bad thing. Okay, well, listen, I'm gonna crack into this. Guys, if you're in the Black Lodge, you can come in there and you can see there's a whole heap in the library tab of works by Crowley that range from the sensible and the sober. He even wrote a couple of novels. I believe Moonchild is in there, and you can find it in there, to the really, really esoteric, trippy, borderline. I mean, these are real scripture, some of Crowley's works, particularly the ones titled Liber such and such, right? This is actually from a magazine published in America when Crowley was in New York at the height of his own addiction to cocaine. And it is about cocaine as a magical tool. I try constantly to get you guys to see the magic in the mundane, to see the way that spells are being cast on you all of the time. Magic, when you really understand it, is both extremely underwhelming and extremely overwhelming at the same time, because you realize how painfully simple it is, how abroad in the world it is, as Dion Fortune would say, and how easy it actually is to manipulate reality if you want. Allow me to elucidate this by reading. Guys, like I say, the thing is in the chat. Dude, as if you're going to type and just keep hating and typing incessant shit. Join the chat. It'll be fun. Like, make some content. Okay. 1. Aleister Crowley, cocaine. Of all the graces that cluster about the throne of Venus, the most timid and elusive is that maiden whom mortals call happiness. None is so eagerly pursued, none is so hard to win. Indeed, only the saints and martyrs, unknown usually to their fellow men, have made her theirs. And they have attained her by burning out that ego sense in themselves with a white-hot steel of meditation, by dissolving themselves in that divine ocean of consciousness whose foam is passionless and perfect bliss. This is an essay he wrote about cocaine. Imagine what the religious texts are like. Imagine what the scripture... And by the way, I'm not a Thelemite. I think it's fascinating. I think it's interesting. I don't actually believe Crowley wanted anybody to be a Thelemite, but we'll get to that on different... I haven't got in one stream enough time to unpack the discography, filmography level, like prolific, eclectic collection of works that this man left behind. But just all this so as to say, this is a fucking essay about cocaine, right? Imagine what his spiritual texts are like. Imagine how beautiful and evocative and multi-layered they are, right? To others, happiness comes only as by chance, when least sought. Perhaps she is there. Seek and ye shall not find. Ask and ye shall not receive. Knock and it shall not be opened unto you. Happiness is always a divine accident. It is not a definite quality. It is the bloom of circumstance. It is useless to mix its ingredients. The experiments in life which have produced it in the past may be repeated endlessly and with infinite skill and variety in vain. It seems more than a fairy story that so metaphysical an entity should yet be producible in a moment by no means of wisdom, no formula of magic, but by a simple herb. The wisest man cannot add to happiness, though he may be dowered with youth, beauty, wealth, health, wit, and love. The lowest blackguard, shivering in rags, destitute, diseased, old, craven, stupid, a mere morass of envy, may have it with one swift, sucked breath. The thing is as paradoxical as life, as mystical as death. Look at this shining heap of crystals. They are hydrochloride of cocaine. The geologist will think of mica. To me, the mountaineer, they are like those gleaming feathery flakes of snow, flowering mostly where rocks jut from the ice of crevassed glaciers that wind and sun have kissed to ghostliness. To those who know not the great hills, they may suggest the snow that spangles trees with blossoms glittering and lucid. The kingdom of the fairy has such jewels. To him who tastes them in his nostrils, to their acolyte and slave, they must seem as if the dew of some great breath of some great demon of immensity were frozen by the cold of space upon his beard. For there never was an elixir so instant magic as cocaine. Give it to no matter whom. Choose me, the last loser on earth. Let him suffer all the tortures of disease. Take hope, faith, take love away from him. Then look. See the back of his worn hand. It's discolored and wrinkled, perhaps inflamed with agonizing eczema, perhaps putrid with some malignant sore. He places on it that shimmering snow, a few grains only, and a little pile of starry dust. The wasted arm is slowly raised to the head that is little more than a skull. The feeble breath draws in that radiant powder. And now we must wait. 1 minute, perhaps 5. Then happens the miracle of miracles, as sure as death and yet as masterful as life, a thing more miraculous because so sudden, so apart from the usual course of evolution. Natura non facit soltum. Nature never makes a leap. True. Therefore, this miracle is a thing, as it were, against nature. The melancholy vanishes, the eyes shine, the wan mouth smiles, almost manly vigor returns, or seems to return. At least faith, hope, and love throng very eagerly to the dance. All that was lost is found. The man is happy. To one, the drug may bring liveliness, to another, languor, to another, creative force, and to another, tireless energy, to another, glamour, and yet to another, lust. But each in his own way is happy. Think of it. So simple and so transcendent. The man is happy. I have traveled every quarter of the globe. I have seen such wonders of nature that my pen yet splutters when I try to tell them. I have seen many a miracle of the genius of man, but never have I seen a marvel like this. Cocaine is a hell of a drug indeed. Now, you guys, please consider Aleister Crowley shat this out while he was high on cocaine to fuel his drug addiction. Yeah, go read Mein Kampf. Go read Mein Kampf and tell me we're even talking about the same entity of being here. Holy shit. Hello, sir. Hello, Pharaoh.
Hello.
93. How
93 upon YouTube.
Based. So, any thoughts just on Crowley in general? I know that you're something of an avid Crowley reader yourself.
I love Aleister Crowley. I think Crowley was a great man, and a lot of cope about Crowley goes around.
I'm seeing some of it in the chat this evening. I'm loving it. I'm loving the rage, like the soy Christian rage. I'm like, demons, no, demons.
You know what it really is? A lot of people, like, it's not even just like direct rage. It's a lot of like passive aggressiveness. So they're like, they don't want to get it, but they do get it.
Yo, can you just riff on this while I go grab a cigarette for a second? This is so real. Can you just riff on this?
Basically, a lot of people are soy little bitches. And they want to have their cake and eat it too. So what they end up doing is, instead of just saying, you know what, I don't like Crowley because he doesn't align with my values, they're like, I want to be an esoteric wizard and mystery master and all these things. And it's just like, a lot of you don't even like him. And saying you like him when you don't like him, to be honest with you, it's quite pathetic. On top of that, though, a lot of you say you don't like him when you fucking love him. People can't make up their fucking mind. It's polarity. That's what the figure was.
So real. And I promise you, somebody listening to this will be watching the stream seething, thinking they hate him, will go and read him and realize, what the fuck? Like, what the fuck? He's like referencing morality every 5 minutes. Like, what the fuck? Like, it's not what you think it is. It's not like man, you know what? Earlier, I went and collected a list of shit posts from Crowley. Shit posts, things that he'd written that I think if you sat a based person down in a room and went, okay, these are my quotes from Aleister Crowley, right? I think they would walk away thinking, wow, this guy's insane. Like, so cool. I can't believe it. It's like he was so prolific and wrote so much that you could actually make a book out of Crowley to make him look like a socialist or make him look like a fascist or make him look like whatever. Most of this I got from an essay of some dude spurging, some modern thalemic guy who's like left wing or whatever, like spurging. Crowley was racist and a nationalist. All right. Quote, I could write on love for hours, but will conclude with only one other bit of advice. Don't marry a beep, and that's N-I-G-G, right? Like, it's like, okay, we quote, we conquered the peninsula, he's talking about India here, right, by sheer moral superiority. And then he goes on for a paragraph to lecture about how like Indians don't have souls or whatever. Like, it's like actually insane. You can collect this entire there's an incredible essay by Crowley for anyone who's interested called On the Jewish Problem Restated. That's the title of the essay, Restated, meaning somewhere at some point he'd felt the need to initially state it. But then you also get these incredible things, right? Like, what was I? Okay, listen to this. Instead of each, quote, instead of each person and each race doing its own will, the whole of humanity is being thrown into a melting pot, the only ambition to get to the top. But instead of each soul seeking the satisfaction proper unto itself, it is persuaded by popular press, by the pressure of public opinion, and by the contagious delusion of democracy that nothing is worth having save wealth in its grossest interpretation, modern conveniences in the crudest sense of the term, and social success in its silliest and shallowest shape. Like, just like shitposts you can't even fathom, man. Like, fuck.
Well, what I really like about Crowley is he understood like being immersed and unimmersed simultaneously.
Yep.
So like the opposites of performance in politics is the occult. The
Say that
plays
again. That will go way over people's heads. You speak in riddles sometimes, parables, like some other way. You remind me of someone. You remind me of someone. Can you post? Like, what? Can you say what you mean, please?
Well, so no, I'm going to explain. So like basically the point of the performance is to give a canvas for things to be obfuscated and obscured on. So like Crowley with all this provocative, edgy stuff, the actual occult underlying was in between it all. It's inversion, right?
I agree. All between the lines. It's all between the lines. And that's why you have to read it with a kind of cynical hat on. What I love about Crowley myself is that he is a cynic somewhat himself. Like, he's like, don't believe me. Go try this shit for yourself. See if it works. You go try, you know what I mean? And nobody does. Like, nobody fucking does because they're such pussies. Like, even half the people calling themselves Thelemites don't try the shit that Crowley actually advocated for. Yeah, couldn't agree with you more, man. I couldn't agree with you more. The truth and the wisdom to be found in Crowley is in the spaces between the lines. It's in what he doesn't say, even though what he does say is so beautiful and so multi-layered. And like, I cannot stress enough how much people need to read Crowley.
Well, and it's quite frankly genius. And then even then, like Crowley's just lines in between lines, and you can endlessly analyze it forever. Like,
100%.
There's something very magical about it, and it's a beautiful thing.
The Book of Lies, in particular, that we were reading the other day in the Lodge VCs, when I was like, when we were going through that, it struck me that there was things I'd read when I was 15 in there that were like, I'd completely missed the point on, that had gone way over my head, that I'd just taken very literally and not understood at all what was being. And there's still things in there now, like I could read that book 10 more times. I wouldn't understand, you know what I mean? There's so many layers to it. And anybody claiming that they completely know everything, or that they're an expert or a biographer or whatever, just needs to go fuck themselves. Like,
so Crowley was openly a very manipulative person, and he understood how perception works, right? So you get immersed in something. The way your consciousness aligns, you're looking thinner, right? It's tunnel vision. Everyone, just look around you real quick and understand there's multiple dimensions to it.
Yeah,
so
you could just be looking at your phone right now, but you're not. You like turned your consciousness. That room, the rest of the room that you're looking at right now, didn't really exist when you had your face buried in a phone screen. You know what I mean? Like, that's something to think about. Like, nobody, like, man, it's that he's really trying to merge the materialism of his day, the psychology, the science. Like, he's not anti-psychology, he's not anti-science, but he's trying to merge them with like spirituality. He's trying to make a religious system for the new aeon. And it's so fucking hard for people to wrap their heads around. Like, magic in general, it's just like, where do you start? But with Crowley, it becomes extra difficult to explain.
Well, it's that he understood that cat and mouse game, right? Because he gives you things. It's psychic vampirism, partially. Another part, introspection. You're supposed to look at the words and reflect upon to yourself, right? Like,
yeah, absolutely. There's that famous story, right, where he had he told all his disciples different things. He told some of them, like, for example, he had this concept called the holy guardian angel, which is the idea, very similar to the idea of a daimon in ancient Greece. He wrote about this in many of the Libras. You can find a reference to the HGA, or the holy guardian angel. And it's this entity that follows you through life and guides you to make sure that you're acting in accordance with your true will. And if you can meet it and contact it and talk to it, you can find out and ascertain what your true will is. There's even this incredibly long, painful ritual that lasts, 6 months to a year, called the Abramelin ritual, where you have to commit yourself to silence and fasting and prayer in this, in a remote, abandoned location in order to invoke the holy guardian angel. Crowley apparently did this and didn't finish it. And a lot of people say that's why he went a bit crazy, loopy towards the end of his life, that he tried sort of and half-assed the Abramelin ritual. But the idea of the Abramelin is to meet your holy guardian angel, right? And Crowley told some of his disciples that, the HGA is just you. It's just your subconscious. It's just whatever. And then he told some other disciples, no, it's a real fucking entity that lives in the shared space of the ether between wherever. Like, he was literally telling different people different things. One dude paid him a bunch of money for a one-on-one tutorial, and he wrote him a cryptic message that when he deciphered it, just said like, "You're a fucking idiot" or whatever. Like it's just like crazy shit. Like you don't like.
You know, I've spoken to archons, and I think I have, and it's what would have driven him insane isn't that he failed a ritual. There is no dogma to it. It's the subversion of expectation, right? Because when you actually look outwards enough, especially eventually what ends up happening is there's like you realize like I have to look at me and what am I? And when you really get in touch with that, the self is nothing because everything is just based on reference points, right?
100%.
And it really fucks with you. It really fucks with you. So it's like I'm supposed to uphold an ideal while simultaneously not being anything at all.
This is a great question and a great example that I can give you, right, about what Noam is kind of hinting towards. Crowley famously said that he sacrificed 150 unborn male children in one summer. 150 unborn male children one summer. Sounds horrific, right? Wickedest man alive. Except it's a masturbation reference. He's talking about like jorking it. He's talking about gooning. He's talking about, like making himself nut 150 times in one summer as part of magical practice. And this is what you got to understand. He's using sex and drugs to alter his consciousness on the understanding that reality is downstream of belief and perception and consciousness. But that's going to be lost on some of you listening.
Well, so yeah, you should go try the 6-month ritual, all of you.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're going to be extremely let down in the end, extremely subverted.
Like I say, both incredibly underwhelming and incredibly overwhelming at the same time. You may even get more out of not finishing it than finishing it, which may be why it was designed in the first place. Hey, Dio, we haven't heard from you. New lady, we haven't heard from you. Just chime in. Thoughts on that first chapter? What are you thinking? See, Dio, you're muted, bro. I don't know if you haven't said anything the entire stream. I don't know if you know that. Okay, new lady. How about you? Masturbation was just a cover.
I'm just taking it all in. It's clarifying some stuff, like that I should read his stuff.
Well,
like
yeah,
I
isn't it
need to
right?
read
Yeah,
his
yeah.
info.
See, the thing is that he kind of thought that most people were fucking retards and that they would never get it anyway. And you know what? I think he might have been right about that. So, oh yeah, Dio's gonna come back. He's disconnected. Gooning based. Is gooning based? Well, that's funny actually, because sometimes gooning's really cringe and a massive waste of time and energy, and sometimes gooning is really based. Yeah.
I've been thinking about this a lot recently, like not just gooning, just anything, right? And it's like doing anything. It like if you are who you are, it literally doesn't matter what you do. It doesn't make
what you mean? Do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law.
Yeah.
Please explain what you mean. This is crazy.
It makes no difference. The actions make no difference to the core substance. The core substance is there, and a lot of people are pretending. They're pretending, and maybe that's their will to pretend. But quite literally, it's like the issue people have, right? So a lot of people, for example, they'll get into semen retention with the expectation that they're going to get stuff for semen retention.
Yeah.
You're making an uphill battle. The reward is the semen retention itself.
Yeah. Because that's the control. That's the mastery.
Is that who you are? Someone who retains their semen? It doesn't matter either way. Jeffrey Epstein would fucking goon on phone calls like
5 times in a phone call. Yeah, literally.
Yeah,
just to close the phone call. It's like this is the thing about people don't understand what I mean either. A couple of people messaged me and they were like, "What did you mean when you said like if you don't nut, your energy turns toxic?" I'm like, bro, if you have to ask that question, you don't get it. Like if you even have to ask the question of like why what I mean by that, don't even worry about it. Just go goon or go not November or whatever the fuck it's called.
It doesn't matter if you do or you don't. Though. No, like seriously, it doesn't matter if you do or you don't. If you are who you are.
Yep.
That idol has no authority in like your actual fundamental being, in your fundamental will, in your fundamental alignment. The actions are just symbolic, and the symbolism can mean anything you want it to mean introspectively.
Yeah. Dang, I knew Jordan and Noam were working for them. So good, dude. You don't even understand. We need more occult lore, me and you. We need like the kind of occult lore where people are like,
I got
"Oh,
crazy fucking lore. I got the
no more. Like we need
Oh, yeah.
deeper and darker lore. But listen, let me read this chapter, okay? This next chapter. Otherwise, we're just gonna go sideways. Someone debunk this. Okay. And dude, I could go on for honestly, I could go on forever. In fact, I may actually post this link to this document in the chat for anyone who's interested. I'll try and leave the live chat up. That will really be dependent on the kind of stuff you all have been saying. But there's a link there. If you can find that, if you can go on that link, and read the quotes on that link and tell me what you. Okay, chapter 2, and it's not even really a chapter, but let's get into it. Okay. All right. 2. There is not a school of philosophers cold and cynical. 2. Is there not a school of philosophers cold and cynical that accounts God to be a mocker, that thinks he takes his pleasure in contempt of the littleness of his creatures? They should base their thesis on cocaine, for here is bitterness, irony, cruelty ineffable. This gift of sudden and sure happiness is given but to tantalize. The story of Job holds no such acrid drought. What were more icy hate, fiend comedy than this, to offer such a boon and add, you must not take? Could not we be left to brave the miseries of life, bad as they are, without this master pang, to know perfection of all joy within our reach, and the price of that joy tenfold quickening of our anguish? The happiness of cocaine is not passive or placid as that of beasts. It is self-conscious. It tells a man what he is and what he might be, and offers him the semblance of divinity, only that he may know himself to be a worm. It awakes discontent so acutely that never shall it sleep again. It creates hunger. Give cocaine to a man already wise, schooled in the world, morally forceful, a man of intelligence and self-control. And if he really be a master of himself, it will do to him no harm. He will know it for a snare. He will beware of repeating such experiments as he may make, and glimpse of his goal may possibly even spur him to its attainment by those means which God has appointed for his saints. But give it to the clod, to the self-indulgent, to the blasé, to the average man, in a word, and he is lost. He says, and this is his perfect logic, this is what I want. He knows not, neither can he know the true path, and the false path is the only one for him. There is cocaine at his need, and he takes it again and again. The contrast between his grub life and his butterfly life, too bitter for his unphilosophic soul to bear. He refuses to take the brimstone with the treacle. Listen up, guys, because a lot of you just be fat or something, okay? It doesn't just apply to cocaine, what he's talking about here. He's talking about the magic behind addiction, compulsion in general, but... And so he can no longer tolerate the moments of unhappiness, that is, of normal life. For as he now so names it, the intervals between his indulgences diminish. And alas, the power of the drug diminishes with fearful pace. The doses wax, the pleasures wanes, side issues invisible at first arise. They are like devils with flaming pitchforks in their hand. A single trial of the drug brings no noticeable reaction in a healthy man. He goes to bed in due season, sleeps well, wakes fresh. South American Indians habitually chew this drug in its crude form when upon the march and accomplish prodigies, defying hunger, thirst, and fatigue. But they only use it in extremity, and long rest with ample food enables the body to rebuild its capital. Also, savages, unlike most dwellers in cities, have moral sense and force. The same is true of the Chinese and Indians in their use of opium. Everyone uses it, and only in the rarest cases does it become a vice. It is with them almost as tobacco is with us. But to one who abuses cocaine for his pleasure, nature soon speaks and is not heard. The nerves, weary of constant stimulation, they need rest and food. And there is a point at which the jaded horse no longer answers whip and spur. He stumbles, falls a quivering heap, gasps out his life. So perishes the slave of cocaine, with every nerve clamoring. All he can do is renew the lash of the poison. The pharmaceutical effect is over, the toxic effect accumulates, the nerves become insane. The victim begins to have hallucinations. See, there is a gray cat in that chair. I said nothing, but it's been there all the time. Or there are rats. I love to watch them running up the curtains. Oh, yes, I know they're not real rats, but that's a real rat there on the floor. It nearly killed me that time. That's the original rat I saw. He's the real rat. I saw him on my windowsill one night. Such quietly enough spoken is mania as soon as the pleasure passes. It is followed by the opposite, eros by anteros. Oh no, never they come near me. A few days pass and they are crawling on the skin, gnawing indeterminately and intolerably, loathsome and remorseless. It is needless to picture the end, prolonged as it may be, for despite the baffling skill developed by the drug lust, the insane condition hampers the patient, and often forced abstinence for a while goes far to appease the physical and mental symptoms. Then a new supply is procured, and with tenfold zest, the maniac, taking the bit between his teeth, gallops to the black edge of death. And before that death come all the torments of damnation. The time sense is destroyed, so that an hour's absence may hold more horrors than a century of normal time and space-bound pain. Psychologists little understand how the psychological cycle of life and the normality of the brain make existence petty, both for good and ill. To realize it, fast for a day or two. See how life drags with the constant subconscious ache. With drug hunger, this effect is multiplied 10,000-fold. Time itself is abolished. The real metaphysical eternal hell is actually present in the consciousness which has lost its limits without finding him who is without limit. I'm going to read that again. With drug hunger, this effect is multiplied 10,000-fold, talking about how it feels to fast for a couple of days. Time itself is abolished. The real metaphysical eternal hell is actually present in the consciousness which has lost its limits without finding him who is without limit. He's literally talking about God there. But you guys, he read, and it's not. We're only 3 chapters into the essay on cocaine. I believe he's referenced God twice now. But you guys will say, of course, that he's talking about Satan. Who was trying to join this chat? Hello.
Hello. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, you were not speaking before. I mean, I thought I could tell that you were speaking, but
okay,
yeah.
My mic must have not connected. Well, to start with, I wanted to say I sacrificed a child to the stream, just done, and the only way the Christians can counter our evil demonic energy is by pressing the like button and sending some Jesus love energy at the stream. Okay?
Or the dislike button. The dislikes are also very welcome. All engagement is welcome.
Well, wait. The average Christian doesn't share love because they hate themselves. They hate them fucking selves.
Uh-oh.
No, it's like a shame-based religion. Like, your dogma is be ashamed of your body and be ashamed of the things you do, and God will love you. That's crazy. Like, that's craziness.
That is kind of crazy when you put it like that, you know.
Be ashamed of who you are.
That's the most Jewish amongst the Christians, right? Most Christians, really.
Yeah, I know what you mean. It's rooted in the more like older Abraham. Yeah, it's very Saturnian. Exactly. Yeah, Islam tries to take things back to the more Judaic Saturnian, and that's why it's even more restrictive than Christianity, right? The tendency is the same in both.
Well, Islam is interesting because Islam is like the Saturnian aspect of Judaism combined with the Aryan aspect of like ancient, like Iranian culture, basically.
Okay. Interesting.
Well, I don't even like the thing with like Saturnian doctrine is the Book of Job is a great example. It's like the actual point wasn't punishment. The actual point was to see if your faith is true or not.
Mm-hmm.
And there's no reward for that. The faith itself is the reward. So Saturn's not giving to you. Saturn's taking away from you to see what holds, what sticks. Pressure makes diamonds, right? And like seriously, what's happening is it's like, okay, this is what you believe in. Well, what do you still believe in that when everything's taken away?
Which is the story of Job that he's referencing, right?
Yeah, he doesn't get a reward for his faith though, because his faith was what he had to begin with.
Yep.
He could have had everything and his faith.
I just find it funny that it's like he's literally referencing the divine, and people will say, "Oh, he's an atheist, he's a Satanist, or whatever." He's saying the only way you could not fall victim to this kind of metaphysical eternal hell is by finding God. That's like the last part of the second chapter on cocaine. You know what I mean? Like, it's just absolute bullshit. Like, people just, oh man, crazy. All right, let's do one more of these, and then we can talk about what other kind of Crowley stuff you guys have read or whatever before we wrap up. But any thoughts so far just on this? I guess he's just kind of railing against addiction in general in that chapter.
Well, I like the idea of like time being destabilized.
When the addict, time crawls for the addict.
Yeah, so it's like ego. I love talking about ego because ego is entirely developed based on pattern recognition and like comfort and safety and security. It's a survival mechanism.
Yeah.
So when you fuck with that, what ends up happening is you get psychotic because like things aren't lining up anymore. Your nervous system is getting fucked up by that. So it's like, yeah, you get higher spiritual experiences when you fuck with that pattern recognition because it's gravity itself, right? It's referencing things. You lose that sense of reference.
And
then time crawls for people who really want that reference. You know, they're looking for that reference. Their brain is fixating on that reference.
I get what you're saying. Yeah,
What makes sense.
Dio, how much did you hear? Were you cut the fuck off before?
Oh, I was cut off for most of it. And where did the lady go?
Oh, I don't know. I have a funny feeling she came on to troll like with some Christian shit and then got completely rug pulled. I could be wrong. 3. Much of this is well known. The dramatic sense has forced me to emphasize what is commonly understood because the height of the tragedy or of the comedy, if one have that power of detachment from mankind, we attribute only to the greatest of men, to Aristophanes, to Shakespeare, the Voltaires, the Byrons, that power which makes poets at one time pitiful of the woes of men, at another gleefully contemptuous of their discomfitures. But I should wisely have emphasized the fact that the very best men may use this drug, and many another with benefit to themselves and to humanity. Even as the Indians of whom I spoke above, they will use it only to accomplish some work which they could not do without it. I instance Herbert Spencer, who took morphine daily, never exceeding an appointed dose. Wilkie Collins, too, overcame the agony of rheumatic gout with laudanum and gave us masterpieces not surpassed. Some went too far. Baudelaire crucified himself, mind and body, in his love for humanity. Verlaine became at last a slave where it had been so long the master. Francis Thompson killed himself with opium, so did Edgar Allan Poe. James Thompson the same with alcohol. The cases of De Quincey and H.G. Ludlow are lesser but similar with laudanum and hashish, respectively. The great Paracelsus, who discovered hydrogen, zinc, and opium, deliberately employed the excitement of alcohol, counterbalanced by violent physical exercise, to bring about the powers of his mind. Coleridge did his best while under opium, and we owe the loss of the end of the Kubla Khan to the interruption of an importunate man from Porlock ever accursed in the history of the human race. I have no idea what that last thing is referencing. Okay, interesting. He's just talking about that. Honestly, that was just like famous people who be doing drugs. Drugs are important. I believe he's going to politically advocate in the coming chapter for drugs to be legalized, for all drugs to be legalized. And you can start to get at the politics of Aleister Crowley, because even though he lived in fascist Italy and he praised Mussolini's regime and said it, I think he described the fascisti as cute, actually, in one of the things that I read. He's obviously like a troll, doesn't really have any political beliefs outside of the ones that serve his spiritual aims. And therefore, he's probably best described as like a right-wing, like libertarian, I guess. Like a kind of, I mean, I'll pull up the essay afterwards, the racist and the nationalist essay, because it's so funny. The guy just like chewing out Crowley saying he was racist. Okay. 4. Consider the debt of mankind to opium. Is it acquitted by the deaths of a few wastrels from its abuse? For the importance of this paper, I discuss the practical question, should drugs be accessible to the public? Here I pause in order to beg the indulgence of the American people. I am obliged to take a standpoint at once startling and unpopular. I am compelled to utter certain terrible truths. I am in the unenviable position of one who asks others to shut their eyes to the particular, that they may thereby visualize the general. But I believe that in the matter of legislation, America is proceeding in the main upon a totally false theory. I believe that constructive morality is better than repression. I believe that democracy, more than any other form of government, should trust the people, as it specifically pretends to do. Now it seems to me better and bolder tactics to attack the opposite theory at its very strongest point. It should be shown that not even in the most arguable case is a government justified in restricting use on account of abuse or allowing justification. Let us dispute about expediency. So, to the Bastion, should habit-forming drugs be accessible to the public? The matter is of immediate interest, for the admitted failure of the Harrison Law has brought about a new proposal, one to make bad worse. I will not here argue the grand thesis of liberty. Free men have long since decided it. Who will maintain that Christ's willing sacrifice of his life was immoral because it robbed the state of a useful taxpayer? No, a man's life is his own, and he has the right to destroy it as he will, unless he too egregiously intrude on the privileges of his neighbors. But this is just the point. In modern times, the whole community is one's neighbor, and one must not damage that. Very good. Then there are pros and cons and a balance to be struck. In America, the prohibition idea in all things is carried mostly by hysterical newspapers to a fanatical extreme. Sensation at any cost by Sunday Next is the equivalent in most editorial rooms of the alleged German order to capture Calais. Hence, the dangers of anything and everything are celebrated dithambically. Wow. Dithambically. Let's get it. Guys, we just learned a new word. It's a while since that happened. A dirythram was an ancient Greek hymn sung by sung by Dionysus, the god of wine and fertility, and also an epithet of the god. Brilliant. We're learning.
So what does it mean? Like dithyram or dithyrambic? What would that like describe?
Musically.
Okay. So like
everything is celebrated musically by the corribants of the press, and the only remedy is prohibition. A shoots B with a revolver. Remedy: the Sullivan Law. In practice, this works well enough, for the law is not enforced against the householder who keeps a revolver for his own protection, but it's a handy weapon against the gangster and saves the police the trouble of proving felonious intent. But it is the idea that was wrong. Recently, a man shot his family and himself with a rifle fitted with a Maxim silencer. Remedy: a bill to prohibit Maxim silencers. No perception that if the man had not a weapon at all, he would have strangled his family with his bare hands. American reformers seem to have no idea, at any time or in any connection, that the only remedy for wrong is right. That moral education, self-control, good manners will save the world, and that legislation is not merely a broken reed, but a suffocating vapor. Further, an excess of legislation defeats its own ends. It makes the whole population criminals and turns them all into policemen and police spies. The moral health of such a people is ruined forever, and only revolution can save it. Now, in America, the Harrison Law makes it theoretically impossible for the layman, difficult even for the physician, to obtain narcotic drugs, but every other Chinese laundry is a distributing center for cocaine, morphia, and heroin. Negroes and street peddlers also do a roaring trade. Some people figure that 1 in every 5 persons in Manhattan is addicted to one or other of these drugs, and I can hardly believe this estimate, though the craving for amusement is maniacal among these people who have so little care for art, literature, or music, and have, in short, none of the resources of the folk of other nations in their own cultivated minds possess. Ragging on Americans there, yeah, based.
Well, it's interesting. It comes back to something I often say, that like the issue that we have facing us is the complete loss of trust in human will and human sovereignty, right? And it's interesting that Thelema is will, right? And so he talks about like the lawmakers not trusting the will of the people, the sovereignty of the people, the ability for the people to govern themselves.
He really believes that. He really believes that if everybody was unto themselves, then the world would be like free of bullshit. Like he genuinely believes that all the problems come from people trying to control each other and bring them into their orbits. Like rather than letting everybody do what thou will, which is somehow read as like rape babies. Like, sorry, what? ¿Qué pasa, amiga? Like, fuck, dude. Like, I don't think okay.
Well, I thought the point of like, oh, ban the silencer, ban the gun is beautiful because it's like, well, you're just assuming he won't strangle them then.
Yeah, and an argument, by the way, which, okay, would be common to hear that from like libtardarians today, but he's making that in Victorian times, like he's way ahead of his curve. And it's not a politically motivated thing, it's a spiritually motivated thing. Like,
man wants to kill his family. That's what really needs to be addressed.
But what's funny is that like with most quotes, right, people only remember the first half, right? Because what's the second half? Like, do as thou wilt will be the whole of the law. What's the second half?
Love is the law, love under will.
Exactly, you know, like, and so it's like every
love and will are the same thing. Agape, which is Greek for love, Greek for the universal love, you know, God's love, and will, like God's love and will are the same thing. Both can be expressed numerically in the number 93. To say 93 to someone is to say, do what you want, I love you. Like in that way of like me, it's such a beautiful system. Like, and people look at it like it's just like, wow, man.
Well, I always read "do as thou wilt" kind of like an eye roll, like, Master, what do I do? And just like, you're gonna do what you want to do anyways. Like,
yeah, so real. That's so real. Yeah, but I mean, every single thing he says is like multi-layered, man. You can read it 8 different ways, and that's a great example.
Well, speaking of the layers, right? It's like you were talking about how like the need to read the Book of Lies multiple times, but not just multiple times, but with multiple different people, right? Like when we were reading
their perspectives,
like when we were reading the other day, right? We had like our like very like fervent Christian friend who was reading it, and he allowed us to unlock meaning that we would have never found ourselves about like the rose and the cross.
Yeah, completely. Yeah, like I would have just seen that as like a thinly veiled thing towards Rosicrucianism, but he was explaining the literal sexual symbolic metaphor of a rose and a cross, like, you know, the T of the rose, like really beautiful. Fucking yeah, man. 5. It was a very weary person that hot summer afternoon in 1909 who trampled into Longronio. Even the river seemed too lazy to flow and stood about in pools with its tongue hanging out, so to speak. The air shimmered softly. In the town, the terraces of the cafes thronged with people. They had nothing to do and a grim determination with which to do it. They were sipping the rough wine of the Pyrenees or the Rioja of the South well watered, or toying with box of pale beer. If any of them could have read Major General Orion's address to the American soldier, they would have supposed his mind to be affected. Quote, alcohol, whether you call it beer, wine, whiskey, or by any other name, is a breeder of inefficiency. While it affects men directly, the results are the same, in that all affected by it cease for the time to be normal. Some become forgetful, others become quarrelsome, some noisy, some sick, some sleepy, and others have their passions greatly stimulated. As for ourselves, we were on the march to Madrid. We were obliged to hurry, a week or a month or a year at most, and we must leave Longronio in obedience to the trumpet call of duty. However, we determined to forget it for the time. We sat down and exchanged views and experiences with the natives. From the fact that they were hurrying, they adjusted us to be anarchists and were rather relieved at our explanation that we were mad Englishmen, and we were all happy together. I'm still kicking myself for a fool that I never went on to Madrid. If one is at a dinner party in London or New York, one is plunged into an abyss of dullness. There is no subject of general interest. There is no wit. It's like waiting for a train. In London, one overcomes one's environment by drinking a bottle of champagne as quickly as possible. In New York, one plies in cocktails. The light wines and beers of Europe, taken in moderate measure, are no good. There is no time to be happy, so one must be excited instead. Dining alone or out with friends as opposed to a party, one could be quite at ease with a Burgundy or Bordeaux. One has all night to be happy. One does not have to speed, but the regular New Yorker has not the time for a dinner party. He almost regrets the hour when his office closes. His brain is still busy with his plans. When he wants pleasure, he calculates that he can spare just half an hour for it and has to pour the strongest liquors down his throat at the greatest possible rate. Now, imagine this man or this woman slightly hampered, the time available still curtailed. He can no longer waste 10 minutes in obtaining pleasure, or he dare not drink openly on account of other people. Well, his remedy is simple. He can get immediate action out of cocaine. There is no smell. He can be as secret as any elder of the church can wish. The mischief of civilization is the intensive life, which demands intensive stimulation. Human nature requires pleasure. Wholesome pleasure require leisure. Pleasures require leisure. We must choose between intoxication and the siesta. There are no cocaine fiends in Logroño. Moreover, in the absence of a climate, life demands conversation. We must choose between intoxication and cultivation of the mind. There are no drug fiends among the people who are primarily preoccupied with science, philosophy, art, and literature. Thoughts?
No, man, I didn't see much Crowley before you introduced me to him, and the more I discover about him, the more I like that.
Isn't this different from what we were reading the other day? Isn't this almost like a different person is writing this thing?
But what I love about it, this is like he's not the only author who does this, but he does what I refer to as folded work, because like every time you unfold it, it doubles in size.
Brilliantly said. I wonder if there's an actual technical name for that, but that's so well said. Like fold, it's all folded in on itself, right? In terms of meaning, and you can extrapolate. Yeah. I think that's really, really well said. Read drugs and read coke. It seems like the general point of this here is that like it's everywhere already. Everyone's addicted to it. I couldn't really take a point out of this chapter, although there were many little points made along the way.
Well, it's the like the main point I see is basically like cocaine is the drug of capitalism. You know, if you really want to like reduce it, and it's
right.
Yeah. And it's also because it's convenient, it's quick, it's instant, right? So you don't need to put much time aside. Smellless, right? So nobody can catch you doing it. So everybody can be doing coke as long as they wash their nose before they, leave the bathroom. Like it's all good.
Yeah.
And nobody can catch you. And there is this also like it's not a pleasurable drug, right? Like it's a drug that gives you like impulse for like a goal. Is kind of the way I think he.
Yeah. I totally
and
see
it's
what
not
you're
there it's not a leasurable drug. And
that's
so
why
it's
the whole
not
word
there
pleasure is in quote marks the whole way through the thing. Yeah, I agree. Yeah. Okay, interesting.
And what he talks about, like there are no cokeheads like in the Italian countryside, because it's like, why would you do coke over there? Like it doesn't make sense in terms of like the tone of what you're looking
there's
for.
art, there's culture, there's philosophy. There's you'll use the coke as a cope, right? Or the coke, not to say the coke addiction. There's no coke addicts. It's not that nobody uses it. It's that nobody is addicted to it, which is just, by the way, that's been proven scientifically true. If you get rats and you give them a feeder of cocaine and you make them bored, they will die of cocaine overdoses. If you give rats cocaine in a pen where they have loads of activities and things to do, they don't even touch the cocaine. Maybe like once in a blue moon. That's really interesting.
Actually, the biggest factor is having friends, right? More so than like toys entertainment. It's like if they have lots of other rats.
Fatality. This is crazy.
Exactly.
Bro.
If they have lots of other little like mice to play with and socialize and lick each other's fur and stuff, they don't touch the cocaine, or they'll do it like once a week or something, right? Like they don't really care for it.
Hey man, listen. You go out and have a drink with some friends every now and then, it's okay. Alone though, you're drinking alone.
Rats also like driving tiny cars even when they don't get treats. That's adorable, Coco. What the fuck? Okay.
I hate rats though. I hate rats.
Yeah, I'm not the biggest rat lover. I have to be honest.
I hate rats. I hate rat society. I hate how rats function. I hate rats, bro. Like the
you
rat,
mean the metaphor like of the rat life?
Yeah, like the rat on the totem. I hate it. I fucking hate it. And like the thing is, like, I'm not even saying it's bad, because a lot of people are little ratty fucking like motherfuckers, and they need that shit. And that's not even like a racial like euphemism for all you like weakness. 99% of you are little ratty fucking like vermin, and that's just how you live. And I don't fuck with it. Go fuck yourself.
Lucid as fuck. 6. However, let us concede the prohibitionist claims. Let us admit the police contention that cocaine and the rest are used by criminals who would otherwise lack the nerve to operate. They also contend that the effects of the drug are so deadly that the cleverest thieves quickly become inefficient. Then, for heaven's sake, establish depots where they can get cocaine for free. You cannot cure a drug fiend. You cannot make him a useful citizen. He never was a good citizen, or he wouldn't have fallen into the slavery of being a drug fiend. If you reform him temporarily at vast expense, risk, and trouble, your whole work vanishes like morning mist when he meets his next temptation. The proper remedy is to let him gang his iron gate to the devil. Iron gate to the devil. I guess that's like an American slang. Iron gate to the devil. His hind gate to the devil. His rear end to the devil. Instead of less drug, give him more drug and be done with him. His fate will be a warning to his neighbors, and in a year or two, people will have the sense to shun danger. Those who have not, let them die too and save the state. Moral weak. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, sorry to interrupt you, but does he use the word devil anywhere else in the text?
No, and it's not even devil. It's and
No,
dude, I'm telling you, Crowley doesn't make mistakes. Crowley doesn't.
But that's what I mean. Like, if he doesn't use the word devil anywhere else in the text, maybe he didn't want to summon the devil.
Yeah. No. I actually agree. He's used it like rhetorically, and it might also be the way that like expression. He's only chosen to use that expression because it doesn't really have the word in it, if you know what I mean. But like I say, he doesn't make mistakes. He doesn't. Whenever you see typos or whatever, and you think, "Oh, he fucked up," or they misprinted, it's never that. It's always like 3 layers deep. If like, what that means. Good point though. Like, yeah. Moral weaklings are a danger to society in whatever line their failings lie. If they are so amiable as to kill themselves, it is a crime to interfere. So, I mean, like, you know, bro, people will be saying he's like a soy or whatever, but like, you say that while these people are killing themselves, they will do mischief. Maybe, but they're doing it now. Prohibition has created an underground traffic, as it always does, and the evils of this are so immeasurable. Thousands of citizens in league to defeat the law are actually bribed by the law itself to do so, since the profits of the illicit trade become enormous, and the closer the prohibition, the more unreasonably big they are. You can stamp out the use of silk handkerchiefs in this way. People say, all right, we'll use linen. But the cocaine fiend wants cocaine, and you can't put him off with Epsom salts. Moreover, his mind has lost all proportion. He'll pay anything for the drug. He'll never say, I can't afford it. And if the price is high, he'll steal, rob, or murder to get it. Again, I say you cannot reform a drug fiend. All you do by preventing them from obtaining it is to create a class of subtle and dangerous criminals. And even then, when you have jailed them all, is anyone any better? While such large profits from 1,000 to 2,000% are to be made by secret dealers, it is to the interest of those dealers to make new victims. And the profits at present are such that it would be worth my while to go to London and back again first class to smuggle no more cocaine than I could hide in the lining of my overcoat. All expenses paid and the handsome sum in the bank at the end of the trip. And for the law, and for the spies, and for the rest of it, I could sell my stuff with very little risk of a single night in the Tenderloin. Another point is this. Prohibition cannot be carried to its extreme. It is impossible, ultimately, to withhold drugs from doctors. Now, doctors, more than any other single class, are drug fiends. And also, there are many who will traffic in drugs for the sake of money or power. If you possess a supply of the drug, you are the master, body and soul, of any person who needs it. I feel like that's really fucking important. If you possess a supply of a drug, you are the master, body and soul of any person who needs it. People do not understand that a drug to its slave is more valuable than gold or diamonds. A virtuous woman may be above rubies, but medical experience tells us that there are no virtuous women in need of the drug who would not prostitute themselves to a rag picker for a single sniff. And if it be really the case that 1/5 of the population takes some drug, then this little wrong little island is in for some very lively times. The absurdity of the prohibitionist content is shown by the experience of London and other European cities. In London, any householder or apparently responsible person can buy any drug as easily if it were cheese. And London is not full of raving maniacs snuffing cocaine at every street corner in the intervals of burglary, rape, arson, murder, malfeasance in office, and the misprison of treason. As we are assured must be the case if a free people are kindly allowed to exercise a little freedom. Or if the prohibitionist contention be not absurd, is it a comment upon the moral level of the people of the United States, which would have been righteously resented by the Gardenier swine after the devils had entered into them? So it's definitely a meaning to do with the V being missing or the arrangement of the words. If I'm not here concerned to protest on their behalf, allowing the justice of the remark, I will still say that prohibition is no cure. The cure is to give the people something to think about, to develop their minds, to fill them with ambitions beyond dollars, to set up a standard of achievement which is to be measured in terms of eternal realities. In a word, to educate them. If this appear impossible, well and good. It is only another argument for encouraging them to take cocaine. Is he a libertarian? Is he a fascist? No, he's a magician, bro. And you need to understand that this is a great place to start. His entire approach to drugs and guns and everything else is outlined in this. And there's a great plethora of non-magical Crowley texts like this for you to get stuck into before you dip into the good stuff. In fact, if you go into the Black Lodge and into the library and you search Crowley, you're going to find my personal Crowley reading list and what order I would recommend reading stuff in.
This is like the development of mind before you take the cocaine and the drugs. That is the rest of his literature.
Oh yeah, it was just corrected. From
Also,
what I gathered,
like-
it was just, and only in America, because in England you could still get hold of it. I think he's making the example. Of
He
that.
was also talking about prohibitions on alcohol, right?
Yeah, as well.
Well,
America
if you look
was
at
very
that,
puritanical.
if you look at that last passage, right? Like I found it actually like surprisingly, what's the word I'm looking for? Nurturing, right? Like, you know, like if he was truly like, because he's trying to sort of like make a reasonable argument for the legalization of drugs and of alcohol in this case, right? When if he was like truly evil, if people think he was, he would have instinctively understood that the people who passed the prohibition law were stockpiling alcohol for years before they passed the law.
Well,
To their own benefit. Yeah.
Exactly.
Crowley was a sensitive young man.
I actually think in a lot of ways that is true. Yeah, he was a fantastic artist. And he writes like an artist also, you know?
Crowley was a very soft guy. Like, seriously, like, again, like, it's the subversion of expectation, though, right? Like, he has this, like, posturing exterior, and then it's like, look inside. You know, like, you dumbass.
Well, like, I don't know
Look
how long
inside,
you guys
real.
want to. I don't know how long you guys want to go for this, but like if we're here for a while longer, we can pull up his chart.
Oh hell yeah! I'll show you the epic night chart of Aleister Crowley. Give me a second though. I just want to go through a few of these because they're really funny. This is from some Thelemite guy from a Moorish Orthodox masjid. Because that's the thing about Thelema. It's not like a religion like Christianity. You can be a Thelemite and be a Muslim. You can be a Thelemite and be a Christian. You have to read the books to understand what I'm talking about. But it's just written by some guy who's like into Thelema and who was into Thelema and is very disillusioned with it. And has just gone through the entire corpus of Crowley's work to try and find instances where Crowley was like bigoted or whatever. And oh boy, did he find a lot of them. There are some like really, really funny ones to me in here that are kind of just like, I mean, some of them are off the wall. This is what I mean by shitpost. Like, people will not understand. Listen to this. I mean, you guys think that you're woke on Jews or whatever. Listen to this. Israel has corrupted the world, whether by conquest, by subversion, or by conspiracy. The Jew has eaten his way into everything. a caricature of Semitic thought, Christianity, rotted Roman virtue through inducing the moral substitute of vicarious atonement. Like, bro, it just goes hard. Let me see what's on here. Yeah, in discussing Sri Lankans, its natives are nasty. The men with long hair cooped up by a comb smelling of fish, and the women with waists bulging black between the coat and skirt, greasy with coconut oil. Like, this guy's collected like everything he ever. And honestly, if you read only this, you'd be like, "Whoa, Crowley was like the most fashy." Like, you wouldn't understand. Like, he was both
like when you look at the
racist and way more progressive than everyone else in his time. That's what you got to understand.
Like when you look at the Jesus quote, he's denying like the ability for Jesus to die for your sins because they're your sins, right?
Yeah.
Like it's is it the Beatles that song? Oh, I don't remember what band sang the song like Jesus died for my sins but not my own or something like that.
I don't think it's the Beatles, but I could be wrong. Oh, maybe it is actually.
I have no sins.
Well, the word sin itself is a restriction is another really famous thelemic quote. That the actual word sin is, but that's something again that needs to be unpacked. Because again, when you say it, people are like, "Oh, what you mean? There's no sin?" Like, yeah, okay, whatever. We can get to that another time. But just stuff like this, this cracked me the fuck up, right?
No. There's sin. Like Christians are sinful. I don't have any sins.
Oh yeah, you don't. Yeah, I agree.
They do.
Yeah, it's a restriction.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I agree. Hey, look, listen, this is the which way white men and women, right? This is the guy trying to like chop Crowley and make him look like a racist. These are real quotes from Crowley. White men and women must choose between these alternatives. Will they yield, content to be the black man's slave after having been his master, or will they stand to and reply by an energetic spiritual reaction, which will restore the threatened equilibrium of the races? And then he goes on to claim that he is the champion of the white race. Listen to this. He's talking about himself here, right? Imagine how much blow this guy is on when he writes this. The white champion has appeared. He who, under the aegis of the spiritual masters of the planet, has proclaimed the law of Thelema, the law of love, comprehended and directed by will, the law which bids each man to pursue the proper orbit of his destiny and develop himself according to his own true center of light, will bring back welfare to his own race and establish peace and victory on earth. We got some like delusions of like fucking hell, it's so good.
His own?
Yeah.
If you could lose it, it was never yours though.
If you could lose it, it was never yours to begin with. Hold on, wait. Where's the other one? This was so funny. Oh, here we go. Race as a component of true will. This is fascinating. Similarly, just as there are certain groups of stars, there are certain groups of human beings which, while preserving the individual integrity of each unit, have a certain common direction. It is thus legitimate to calculate the destiny of a race as the astronomer calculates the course of a galaxy. It is the first business of every individual to discover what his true will is and then to occupy himself by doing that and nothing else. But he must also reckon with the drift of his race and the drift of humanity as a whole. The task of every man is to express himself fully, but he must take into consideration that his relationship with the community, since this is part of his true will to be a member thereof, and any act of his which conflicts with the true will of the community conflicts to that extent with his own true will. Bruh.
Yeah, my true will is doing cocaine.
Whoo, where can I read all of this? In the Black Lodge Library, or you could go out into the world and buy various books by Aleister Crowley. But we keep a nice little archive in the Black Lodge, and of course, he was way fucking ahead of his time. He was maybe 500 years ahead of his time. Even now, I think people don't truly appreciate what that guy was up to. Perhaps us included.
Well, like George, to be fair, like he also, in a big way, didn't want to be understood, and he took great pleasure from it.
Facts. Let me pull up that chart for you. I'm sure we can find him on Luna. If he's not on Luna, then like Luna just like needs to get out. Okay, public charts. Aleister Crowley. Big Libra energy, man. Big Libra energy. Okay, can I share screen? Let's see. Aleister Crowley. 12th of October, 1875, Leamington Spa. Puts the sun with Venus, but on the IC. All these people telling me that whole sign this, whole sign that. Explain that. Explain that to me. Is that the most just after midnight chart you've ever seen in your life? I knew it was either just before or just after midnight. Like I knew he had to be born. He's so infamous. And people always say like, oh, a sun on the IC, so he must be a very private person. Yeah, with lots of secrets. Yeah, but also infamy comes from being, you could be a public person and not very well known and have the sun right at the top of your chart. Just be a really outward public person. He's like a hidden, secretive person with a night chart.
I think obscurity is the right word. He's a figure of obscurity.
Intentionally so, like Dio says, yeah.
But still a figure nonetheless.
Bro, even this stream, like there will be a large amount of people. This stream will go over their heads. Like me trying to introduce Crowley to them as a kind of, and I like that about it. Like same reason I like a lot of occult stuff. It gatekeeps people automatically. The symbolism and the ritual and the aesthetics, the imagery invoked is just so powerful that they just like stay the fuck away from it.
Well,
it's a good thing.
I love how unpredictable people are.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you can't really control anyone, and there's something very beautiful in that. You could say the sky is blue, and someone could take that as you telling them to murder their pet dog. Like, really is in the eye of the beholder, and that's a beautiful, beautiful thing, and it's very sacred.
Hello, Mikey.
Hello.
Hello. Would you like to tell us what you think Jupiter in Scorpio means?
So that's a person. So Mars is the.
Whoa. Oh, you mean because Mars rules Scorpio? Talk people through your thinking. Don't just jump to Mars. Like, what the fuck?
So Mars being the ruler of Scorpio means that his Jupiter is being ruled over the maverick of the traditional planets, the anarchist, the I do it my way, I don't need rules. So Scorpio informs his beliefs because it rules Mercury, his intellect, and Jupiter, so his philosophy, morals, and such things.
Mm-hmm. Yep, there's a Scorpionic energy to the way he thinks and to what he believes in his social values. And Scorpio is obviously associated so much with darkness and secrets and lies and manipulation and all of these things. There's some very good sides to Scorpio too. I look forward to making that video one day. People think we're always shitting on them. It's perhaps one of the coolest signs you can be if you're into the occult. They naturally deal in the dark arts, but it makes perfect sense for Crowley's Jupiter, aka how he is in his beliefs and how he handles power, how he is when he's in charge, when he's running a family or a corporation or whatever. His Jupiter, like his power, is in Scorpio, and his mind is in Scorpio. Makes perfect fucking sense if you know the signs.
Yeah, and Mars is of course the maverick. He doesn't want rules. He just wants freedom.
What do you make of this?
And he has an exalted Mars. So the Jupiter and Mercury are being lorded over by an exalted Mars and Capricorn.
Mm-hmm. Makes a really powerful drive, right?
And Mars is being ruled by Jupiter, Saturn in his domicile in Aquarius.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So we see that in the end, his dispositors are Venus and Saturn.
Okay, but just simply put, what do you make of this?
So what, the twine?
No, the sun. Forget aspects and shit. Remember, a lot of the people watching don't understand basic astrology, so like you have to explain very basic things to them. So everything you're saying is correct, by the way, but like no one's at the level to read like into. Yeah, keep going.
Okay, I actually don't know. So fallen sun, that means not very low visibility, very low. I guess I don't know if it would describe it. I mean, Venus is.
Yeah, we were just talking about him being obscure. That tracks completely. Typically, this will be a private person or a domestic person. Obviously, not everybody is infamous. It's quite rare to be infamous, but many infamous murderers and criminals and people like that, gangsters and always have night charts that are very prominent right on the the axis.
Gnome also said he was a soft person, and that tracks with Libra Sun.
Absolutely. Animal lover, really, really did actually genuinely care about people. And as Dio picked up towards the end of that essay, there's like a nurturing, compassionate, for the better, for the greater good aspect to Crowley that is always very misunderstood. I think that's fair to say. I think what it also means is, in a really simple sense, his sense of identity, his ego, is really in line with aesthetics. And whether or not you think he had a cool look to him and a cool aesthetic to him, with a mind in Scorpio, he definitely had a very distinctive aesthetic. And this makes someone's identity really tied into their aesthetic. Gives someone a really defined sense of personal aesthetics. When you consider that the sun is in Libra, what it essentially means by being fallen is that the sun, out of dignity, is not where it wants to be. It wants to be in Aries. It wants to be over here. It wants to be bold, assertive, passionate. Because it's down here, identity doesn't say I am. Identity says who am I, and asks the group relationally, because that's what Libra and Venus is. It's relational. Wow. So the identity is best expressed through other people, in relationships, in groups, working in. That's why the group chat has the little Libra mafia running it, because they all come out of their shells when they're in a group.
But that interestingly completely contradicts his Jupiter and Mercury placements, because Scorpio is the exact opposite of that. Scorpio is, I do it my way. I do it what I feel. Scorpio is like emotionally very on.
But this is how he does. But this is how he actually executes on things. So Mercury says, "I'm going to write an evil, dark, occult book." Mercury, Scorpio. The Sun says, the Sun is egoically trying to bring balance and harmony, but the actual delivery and execution is a guy who writes hundreds of books, like in the course of his life. Very prolific when it comes to that, just executing.
I wonder what else can we find in this chart. I mean, I have a different chart up, not with your S-rays there.
There's a lot of good, yeah. Well, there's a lot of good shit. The Leo ascendant makes perfect sense, perfect fucking sense, because he has that thing of like, I remember posting a picture of a guy who looks so similar to Crowley, like back in the chat, maybe like a couple months ago, but like, even if you were bald and you had Leo ascendant, this is what you would look like, and it's literally.
Well, it's that intense look he had, right? Like it was like
magnetic. It's like it's a unspoken riz to have Leo on the ascendant.
Yeah,
Marilyn Monroe, Elvis Presley, all these guys have Leo ascendant.
I wonder if Rasputin had Leo on the ascendant.
No, he was a Scorpio ascendant.
You know who has Leo on the ascendant? And is a great example of someone who's not particularly good looking, but just has magnetism and charisma to their like, he wouldn't even have to say anything, and he's just got it. Trump has Leo.
Oh yeah,
right?
Trump is the perfect example. Yeah. He has Mars on it, right, as well.
Yeah, very much speaks to the character of Crowley. But yeah, we should do that sometime, actually. We should do a video unpacking, because there's a lot going on. And like, when it comes to, I could probably do with looking at this for half an hour and being like, right, Pisces moon. It's like, this is straight mystic when it comes to emotional understanding.
Kanye got the same moon.
Oh. Yeah, he can't. Yeah. And Saturn Aquarius means fundamentally problems with belonging, problems with the group, problems with the collective consciousness of society. And with him, it's Pholus right in there with the problems. So the problems create big ripple effects throughout his life. What do you know?
I don't like reducing Saturn to problems. I like it more as like questioning. It's like, do you belong?
Well, Saturn's a great teacher, right? And it's not, you're right. It's like he's throwing all these things at you. Problems, sure, but issues, challenges, restrictions, limitations, but tests. He's actually growing you through trials and through tribulations, whereas Jupiter actually can make you quite lazy.
Well, Crowley proved he belonged in the world.
Yeah, and look, it's problems in the 7th as well in Placidus, so problems with the others, enemies, and it puts his fortune, his money, in the 8th, the house of death and sex and the occult.
That's also a pretty strong aspect to the Sun with Saturn.
Yep,
exact right.
And Sun opposite Chiron. And I don't know. I won't claim to know what Crowley's biggest trauma was in his life, but I would imagine it's quite violent. I do know for a fact that he fell when he was a child and he injured himself. He cut his perineum, colloquially known as the taint, with an ice skate when ice skating, and it never actually fully recovered. It like leaked for most of his life, and just a wound that like never fully healed, and I can totally see like that being a literal thing in a lot of sense, because when you see people who have like Aries in the 4th house, and Mars in there too, often there's like a big fire in the home, in literal fire in the home in the childhood, stuff like that. So you never know what sense that will take. Maybe he got beaten as a kid, highly likely, given the
I know his
family structure.
Yeah, his parents were like extremely like they hated him.
Yeah, so it could be physical violence in the home, like as a kid.
Well, I mean,
or some
like
explosive things.
Like, didn't you say his mother called him the Beast?
Yeah. That's where he got the name from his mom.
No, but right, but like coming from your mother, right? That's another level of hardcore,
Mm-hmm. And yeah, you'd almost expect to see Chiron in Cancer, but it might just have been the whole thing. His whole upbringing was just brutal.
Where is his Lilith?
Great question. I don't think. Oh, down here in Sag, depending on which Lilith you use. I've started using both in charts just to get like a feel for it. But Lilith, Sag, which if you think about it, given the sexual perversion, the sexual degeneracy, and the deviancy, tracks completely.
But also, like
people in the chat slowly realizing that astrology is real will never never like not be fun for me. Like, it's just like
I do wonder to what degree the deviancy was a fiction, right? Like I do wonder.
Well, I think it's in the Jupiter, so it really is in the valley. He really did believe the things he was espousing. But yeah, I think a lot of the Libra thing is like, hey, Aleister, hey, you're a nice guy. Hey, Aleister, you're a nice guy. You know what I mean? Like, I really don't feel that Libra is all cherries and sweetness and roses. Sun next to Venus, that's a very like caring, compassionate guy fundamentally in his ego. He certainly sees himself that way. I wouldn't be surprised if somebody took it out of control one time and like published something about him that was so wildly untrue that he just went, fuck all of you, like fuck the world, and the whole thing is one big projection piece of performance art.
That's also a problem with
I think the degeneracy was real. I just don't think it was like his main thing. Like it wasn't like degeneracy.
Yeah, I think it was I think it was real too, but it wasn't. Yeah, exactly. Not degeneracy for degeneracy's sake. It was like he was ahead
political
of it.
degeneracy.
Yeah. But it wasn't just about pleasure. I agree.
It's not about the anal sex. It's about sending a message.
The real anal sex was the friends that we made along the way, if you think about it.
Yeah, that's also a thing about the fallen sun. You have a very fragile ego that you also don't really care about, so you don't care about your image. Fuck what people think. I just do my. If they want to see me that way, fuck them. I will just do it.
Might be the most base thing you've ever said, Mike. Holy shit. Okay. Chill out there, dude. You're making German people look good. It's crazy. Hold on. Whoa, slow down. All right, cool. Well, I'm gonna wrap up the stream. It was fucking dope doing that. We should just go hop in the library and like have a chat or whatever. It's been an absolute pleasure to stream for you guys this evening. Unironically, I love talking about this. If you enjoyed the stream, if this piqued your curiosity, if you will go away and read Crowley now as a consequence of this, hit the like button. If you are scared shitless and terrified and think I've done too many drugs, hit the dislike button. Either way, thank you so much for watching.
You haven't done enough drugs.
Real, so real and also true. I want to thank Chef and anybody else who's continued to become a member and stayed a member and stuff. You guys are really keeping this channel alive. And of course, our big patrons, Dude Mon, Mr. Mo, those are everybody who has stayed subbed up until now. There is big surprises and fun things coming for you as a reward. I'm immensely grateful. Any final thoughts to close us out, Gnome and more?
I think most of like the people in the chat are closeted homosexuals, and you should just come out the closet.
I completely agree. I think they would do really, really well to just take a bunch of cocaine and have some gay sex.
I mean, the pink dollar is real.
Guys, send me your money. Send me money for real. A lot of you guys are gay, and if you would come out of the closet, you would send me money. But right now,
and you would karmically get more money in return.
Base and factually correct.
And also, like, Crowley was a lot more like Jesus than many of the people in the chat who love Jesus so much.
Oh, truth nuke.
And I guess to close on it, it's like all I could say is like, I don't like the drugs, but the drugs like me. And so
the drugs don't give you answers, okay, guys? You need the drugs, tools, mystical tools to be used, but they do get rid of the questions. They definitely get rid of the questions. All right, take it easy. Have a good night.
Oh.